Good morning, everyone. So, today, as we do reading across genres, you will notice there is a gray box at the bottom. You are obviously able to move the gray box and see a third piece of writing, but I just wanted to save that and its questions for tomorrow so I don't overwhelm you today. So, I just put the box there just so you know that that third part there will be no questions over until tomorrow and it's not something you have to do today. If you are all about getting your work done this week, I've worked really hard to have your work posted early in the week for you. So if you want to knock out today's work, tomorrow's work, and then your 20-minute assessment for Wednesday/Thursday, you absolutely can. You have that available to you. So today, the first poem we're going to look at is here on the left, and it is called Wealth. It is also by Langston Hughes. So something to know with poetry is you don't have to pause at the end of every line. Sometimes the poet wants us to notice things as the reader from line to line without having it spoken. So I will read it to you and you should read along. Wealth by Langston Hughes. From Christ to Gandhi appears this truth. St. Francis of Assisi proves it too. Goodness becomes grandeur, surpassing might of kings. Halos of kindness brighter shine than crowns of gold, and brighter than rich diamonds sparkles the simple dew of love. The end. So as we look at our next worksheet, it says read the poem Wealth, which we just did, and then we're going to follow some annotation instructions. Annotation is a really big academic word for marking up. So we're going to answer some questions and we're going to mark up the text and we're going to call it a day. So according to the poem, what surpasses the might of kings? And I know that surpasses and might are some pretty deep words. And all it's saying is what goes further than a king's authority? Like what matters more? So if we go back to the poem, it says, goodness becomes grandeur, surpassing might of kings. So our first answer would be goodness. You are going to go to the box with the text right here. You'll insert text like this, you'll drag and drop, and then you will write goodness. Oh, and you can also make it as big as you need to. So if you need to do zoom 100% so that you can see it, that's not a problem at all. Then we know that an allusion refers to a person, place, or event from literature, sports, history, movies, or the arts, right? The author makes an allusion to three people right off the bat. Three people he starts name dropping, right? Who does he name drop? Underline or highlight their names in green. Now, guys, this is not a requirement, but I do feel like it's something to let you know. So let's start with, I'm going to say St. Francis of Assisi is a name drop, right? Whenever you highlight or underline, you have plenty of options of how to do that. I'm going to say that the thicker the line, as long as we can still read, the easier it is for me to grade. The easier it is for me to grade, the faster I get through it. Am I going to take points off if you have a thin green line? Absolutely not, right? You're still doing your work. But if you want to help a teacher out, make my life a little easier, that's what I'd do. So we can do a line if we want, and we can make it, let's see. So then I would go here and make it green. I like neon, so I'm going to do that. And here's where I can make it thicker. So even 3 points, and then I can really see that from this small part if I'm trying to grade it without trying to go too far in. So now that we have one done, please take time to make sure all three are underlined. So we want to make sure that we have all three allusions underlined. Do that now. And then what do we think these three people have in common? Like if we're name dropping people, All three of them have something in common in the world. So let's go ahead and fill that out as well. Number 4 talks about alliteration. If you are not done with numbers 1 through 3, you can go ahead and pause the video and then just push play as soon as you're ready. Alliteration is the repetition of initial consonant sounds. This sound device is often used in poetry. Find an example. Guys, you totally know what alliteration is. Don't let that word throw you off. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. Alliteration. Done, right? So, where do we have alliteration in the poem Wealth? We haven't moved off this short poem yet. Like, we're unpacking and just staying here for a while. So, we're looking for multiple words where it says the first consonant sound the same. And then you are going to highlight or underline those words in purple. I will say it does not have to be word for word. It could be an every other word thing. So if you're reading and you're like, well, none of these start with the same letter, oh my goodness, calm down, take a breath, and then let's go every other word. Is there a pairing or little section of 3 words, and then there's a pairing of 2 of them starting with the same sound? Make sure that is in purple. Once you get that done, we're moving on to assonance. It's a sound device often used in poetry with the vowel sound among words. So it doesn't have to be the beginning of the word as much as the middle of the word. This worksheet says there are 7 words in that short poem that contain the same vowel sound. Underline or highlight the 7 words in orange. If you're not done doing that, go ahead and pause the video. If you are done doing that, you're going to type 5 words often associated with wealth. So if you look at it, one that I would say is diamonds. I think that diamonds are associated with wealth. So I would come over here, grab my text box, throw it in, and then I would write diamonds, comma, and then 4 more. If you're ever concerned, your words can be on the line, but you can also click on the box and then use the arrows on your Chromebook to move it up if it bothers you. Next, we're going to think about the deeper meaning of the poem. So we know that poetry means more than what it's just said and that the author has a purpose, right? What does the author want the reader to walk away knowing? It's a short poem. He's not trying to take up all your day, but he wants you to walk away knowing that something is more important than wealth. What is that something? You're going to go ahead and get a text box and fill that in. Lastly, what is the theme of wealth? So we know that a theme needs to be written in sentence format. We know that a theme is not the summary of anything, but the lesson learned. So number 7 was really a guiding question to get you to answer the theme of wealth is, and then what is the lesson of that poem? That should be a complete sentence. All right, so throwing it back to last week, in both the poem Wealth and the short story Thank You, Ma'am, Langston Hughes writes about kindness. Now, you and I know that kindness is not the answer to the theme. It needs to be in more of a phrase. So what about kindness, right? But you want to use the organizer below to contrast the way the author develops kindness in the two texts. So, how does the author show the reader the importance of being kind? In Thank You, Ma'am, how does he show us that being kind matters? I need 1 to 2 complete sentences. You're going to draw your text box here and type. And then in Wealth, the poem we just read, how does he show that kindness is important? 1 to 2 sentences again. You're going to pause the video and take care of number 9. As soon as you're done with that, you can push play and we will read the big C. So the big C is actually an autobiography by Langston Hughes. And so whenever he's saying I in the first person, which we know because if we put up our number 1 for first person, it makes the letter I. We know that he's talking about himself. He's not trying to tell a weird story. He's not trying to be super frivolous and make us super interested in what he's saying so that he's telling lies. He just wants to tell us what's happening. So, excerpt from The Big C by Langston Hughes. Please read along. One afternoon, I had tea with a woman in New York to whom I had mentioned that I was trying to find a way to go back to college. I said I wanted to find out what makes the world the kind of world it is. She had one son in college herself and so was very sympathetic. The next time I saw her, I told her about Lincoln. She listened, and at Christmas, the Christmas of 1925, there came a letter from her offering me a scholarship at Lincoln College. It was the happiest holiday gift I've ever received. My poems had caused me to meet her. My poems, through the kindness of this woman who liked poetry, sent me to college. So at the mid-year, I entered Lincoln and remained there until I received my degree. So in the excerpt, which we just read, Langston Hughes discusses a generous act of kindness that he received when he was young. Take your text box and describe the act of kindness below. It will not bother me if the text is not lined up with the lines properly. I don't want you to worry about that. I do need 1 to 2 complete sentences on number 10 instead of just being like, a lady was nice to Langston, period. Really delve into those sentences, write them out, do your best work. Next, with a green pen or highlighter, underline or highlight the text evidence that supports your answer to number 10. So that would be, if we were writing a 3-point paragraph, what would your sentence be that you would pull from the text, right? Where's your evidence? How do you know that she did an act of kindness? Just underline that sentence that matters for that. Lastly, what kind of impact did this act of kindness have on Hugh's life? We know he had already started writing poetry, so it's not like she gave him the gift of poetry, right? He already had that. But what impact did that have on his whole life? Did her act of kindness have? And then once you write that down with your text box, you're going to get a purple pen or highlighter or a purple line, like we talked about, and highlight the evidence that supports your answer to number 12. So once again, if we were finding evidence for a 3-point paragraph, what sentence would we pull for that? Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today. Make sure this is all done. Make sure you followed along, and then you may turn it in. I'm happy to grade it. A side note on grading, we work from Monday to Thursday. I try to answer questions over the weekend and respond to some of your emails. But if you turn in an assignment or a late assignment on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, that is A-okay. It is also A-okay to send me an email and be like, hey, I just wanted you to know that I did this. I got a couple of those emails this weekend. That is never a problem just for me to have in my records so that if things get scrambled in my brain or something, I can be like, oh yeah, I need to grade that. I just want to make it clear for expectations though, that is the weekend. And if, especially if something's late, I'll grade it Monday. I'm not going to spend weekend time grading something. I take a weekend. I always suggest that you take a weekend. I don't give you lots of homework over the weekend because I want us to have that time really to ourselves. And so I just want to make sure that I'm setting that expectation. So if you do some work on a Friday, which is awesome, and I'll get it graded Monday, I don't want you to like be really flustered by Sunday being like, why didn't she grade it? What is she doing with her life? She's having a weekend, and come Monday, everything will be graded. Everything should be good. I love the little reminder emails just saying like, hey, I just wanted you to know I did this and this, just letting you know. But if you're flustered, like, why is my stuff not graded? The gentle answer would be because it's the weekend. And you can totally expect that Monday it'll be done. If it's not done on Monday, then you can send me another reminder email or your first reminder email like, hey, I just want to let you know I did this. It's still coming up as ungraded. I just wanted to let you know all will be well. All right, guys, have a great Monday. If you want to work ahead on Tuesday's work, that is A-okay. You can click the next button. If you want to be done for the day, be done. Be safe. Love you lots.